Texas with you in my arms. Waltz across Texas with you like a storybook in it. I'm lost in your charms. Waltz across Texas with you. My heartache and trouble are just up and gone the moment you came into view. With your hand in mine, I could dance on and waltz across Texas with you. One more time. Waltz across Texas with you in my arms. Waltz across Texas with you. Ooh, like a storybook in it. I'm lost in your charm. Waltz across Texas with you. Now, I don't know how many of you have been to Texas. But if you're thinking about waltzing across Texas, you're going to be waltzing a long time. Now, here's what I'm saying. I don't want to discourage anyone. If they feel like they want to waltz across the state, waltz across the state. But take my advice. Pick a better state. You'll be waltzing for months trying to waltz across Texas. Here's what I suggest. Don't give up your dream. If you want to waltz across the state, please do it. Just pick a better state. Now, I got a suggestion for you. There's a little state up on the upper East Coast called Rhode Island. Waltz across Rhode Island. You can waltz across Rhode Island and be home for dinner, but not Texas. With you in my arms, waltz across Texas with you. Ooh, like a storybook in it. I'm lost in your charm. Waltz across Texas with you. My heartache and troubles are just up and gone the moment you came into view. With your hand in mine, I could dance on and waltz across Texas with you. Well, this is Alligator in Alignment. I'm going to feature a friend of mine that I told you about in my last podcast, Pete Scardina. Professional hunter. He was a professional hunter for 40 years or more. Now he still hunts, but he's just retired. I think he's 84 years old, a bit older than me. When you speak about hunting, a lot of people get the wrong idea about hunting. Oh, you're going to kill the little bunnies and the little deer and blah 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 blah. A lot of you don't realize that. I'm going to just say this to set the stage for this. Human beings have always hunted animals. I mean, it's a part of nature. And especially today, we need hunters because the animals are not capable of controlling their own populations. And when they aren't hunted, they overpopulate, they overgraze, they get sick, disease comes in. It's just a horrible situation. Now, I lean more on the indigenous part of the culture. We were supposed to, the Great Spirit made us caretakers of this land, of the earth. And that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be caretakers. Now, when it comes to the wild animals, man and his encroaching on their habitat has changed the balance of nature. Where are the wolves? They're gone. The pumas, they are not as numerous as they were. There's a whole imbalance. And hunting helps to keep the balance, to restore the balance of nature. Now, those of you who are against hunting and you're beef eaters or meat eaters, if you eat pig or you eat beef, now, a vegetarian, you can talk. I'm gonna leave you alone. But those of you who actually eat meat as protein and have a bad attitude about hunting, I don't think God values the life of a cow any more than he values the life of a buffalo. That cow or that pig that you eating, he was killed. Except they didn't have the pleasure of running around free over the country and being what animals are supposed to be. They're in pens and blah, blah, blah. But you're okay with that. The reason that one of the reasons that the natives in this country were subjected such was because of the killing of the buffalo, especially for the Plains Indians, because they provided their tools, their clothing, their housing, everything. So anyway, I'm going to feature Pete Scardina, and just remember that hunting the animals has always been done by human beings since the caves, and just like the wolves and the other predators, they help to keep the animal populations healthy. Having said that, before I go any further, I want to say, the vote for president is coming up in a very short amount of time. If you haven't registered, please go and register, because I know the other election was important, but this one, I can't tell you how important it is. You must go register. If you care about this country that we have, that has been a shining light of freedom for the world, if you care about this country, all of the problems that we have and the things you could complain about in this country, you're an American, you can do that. I can name you some countries you can't do that. We can roll up to the White House and give the president the finger and yell out something, but go do that in certain countries. I don't need to name them. You will be in prison, or you will be poisoned, or you will be killed, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, without getting too far into that, we need to vote. This election is very, 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 very important. There's a chance that the threats that have been called out about tearing down the democracy that we have, they're not just threats. This is a time when we have to step up. All of us have to step up. Having said that, I'm out of here. Pete Scardina, my friend, professional hunter. The man has stories you wouldn't believe. He reminds me of me. He gets talking on a story and one leads into another one and another one. The same thing with me. So Pete Scardina. Here we go. Okay, I want to take just a brief second here. If you want to help support me, please hit the like button, hit the subscription button, and do a favor, share this with your friends from you, okay? Sort of help to get the word out. This will help me greatly. Thank you so much. Hello everybody, this is Alligator in alignment once again. I took a trip, like I told you, I took a trip to Denver to surprise my friend Lucy Walker, her 98th birthday. She had told me not to send her any presents or anything, but I showed up in person just for her 98th birthday. And on my way back, I decided to stop through my friend Pete Scardina's place in Luna, New Mexico. Pete is a hunter who I met in Monterey. I lived in Monterey for 30 years up until recently. They sold the house I lived in and I moved to the Bay Area, California. But I met Pete many years ago. We did a couple of interviews in my magazine, the Gator News, which has been out of business now since the internet thing has taken over. But this is Pete Scardina. Pete Scardina was born in Monterey, right, Pete?
Yes, sir. Born in Pine Street, Monterey.
Now, when you were coming up in Monterey, I'm going to do two sections with you. One section going to be strictly about the Monterey area, and then I'm going to do another section that I'm going to put out later, which is about your time here in New Mexico. But tell my audience, what was it like for you growing up in Monterey when you were young?
When I was a young person, Monterey was a real treat to grow up. And where I grew up was 2 blocks from Cannery Row, and the fishing industry was buzzing. It was a land of money then with commercial fishing.
And this was what approximate year?
Oh, heck.
The 50s?
Well, I'm 85, and that was when I was very young.
Yeah, so the 40s, 50s era.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. You know, Monterey was quite different back then, I'm sure, you know.
Very different, and a lot of real people, and with the real people you get real characters.
Oh, yes. That was what Steinbeck made his whole reputation around, was the characters in Monterey. In fact, Steinbeck, the people in Monterey, he aired the dirty laundry of the Cannery Row area, and a lot of people were really upset with him about that. But so, what was it like, just in general, like going to school there as a young man?
Well, when I was in grade school, I was at Bayview School on Prescott and Street in New Monterey. And like I said, I was just a few blocks from the canneries. I was born 4 blocks up from the canneries on Pine Street in New Monterey. And it was a treat, but you didn't know that then. And the canneries were booming. Lighthouse Avenue, we had a lot of Chinese restaurants in New Monterey, and of course a lot of bars. The industry, canning industry in Cannery Row was gangbusters, and going to town, just a great place. You don't know that when you're young like that, but it was a great place to grow up. All the boats and all the industry.
It's amazing. See, we're around the same age. I think you're a few years older than me. And it's amazing that I feel the same way about growing up in the environment that I grew up in. I didn't know it then, how absolutely wonderful it really was, you know, because I was living it, so I didn't realize it then. But yeah, Monterey, even today, Monterey is just a wonderful place to live. But Pete, one of the things about you is you took the hunting bug early, didn't you?
Well, I was telling you, Alligator, about my grandma.
Yes.
And my father wasn't a hunter, but my Irish grandma, I'm half Italian, half Irish. My Irish grandma used to trap rabbits and whatever she could get, but they trapped them for money then. She was just a kid, and she was from Indiana. And she was my mentor and told me stories that instigated and got me interested in hunting. My family, per se, weren't hunters.
That's wonderful. Yeah, she was a big influence on your life, I can tell. A big influence. I watched you showed me some pictures of her, and it took me back to my early days when everything was done by horses and mules, and you plowed the fields. You know, everything was, you know, no running water, no electricity. All of that stuff didn't exist. You know, And when did you decide that you wanted to move out of Monterey and consider and pursue hunting as a way of life?
Well, from the stories my grandma told me, you see, one of the things that was important in my life, I didn't want to visit hunting. That wasn't my idea of hunting. My idea of hunting was to be a hunter. And so you had to change. It wasn't a great change for me, but I had to become a person that was involved in hunting and as a part of life. Now, just to go on a weekend, of course, when I was younger, that's what I did. Of course, I had a family, started a family quite young. And I had 3 kids by the time I was 22 years old. And my hunting was just when I could squeeze it in. But I didn't like that. I wanted to hunt more of not so much as a hobby as a profession, which I did for a while. For a while it was 40 years. And it was, as I told you, Alligator, 2 things that were very important to me in my life. And the things were my trade as a carpenter, a builder, and hunting. That's all I really wanted to do. I didn't care about anything else. It was a driving force in my life. And then I decided that the peninsula per se changed a lot. Mm-hmm. And that has happened through the fishing industry too. When the sardines left, that's another story.
Oh yes.
That's another story
yes.
that I'll tell you one of these days.
Yes.
But as why they left, been a very good, outstanding commercial fisherman. Sal Coletto told me what made the fish leave Monterey. They didn't get fished out, as he believed. The people were led to believe.
Yeah, we'll do a special feature on that specific subject because people should know the truth.
And he was a high boat. That means in tonnage, he caught more often caught more sardines than the other boats.
Yeah.
But anyway, I decided that I moved out to Carmel Valley because I wanted to be closer to where I could hunt, more of a, not as a hobby, but as a passion, something that I really enjoyed doing. And see, a lot of people are unaware that hunting is not just, and they think, a lot of people, you're killing. No, hunting is a whole world of its own. It's everything that surrounds it. Killing is actually an afterthought or product or thing. Mm-hmm. It's everything that goes around hunting. And a lot of things that have to do with the way things were at a time, like the fishing industry, I call it a time gone.
Yeah.
And it'll never be back. It's a time gone. The game in Africa, a lot of these things disappeared, or the buffalo on the Great Plains. How could you possibly imagine 50 million buffalo? That's what the count was estimated at, roaming the Great Plains. There is no Great Plains anymore. You see. Yeah. So I call it, and in Africa, the game. And if there's a problem with some of these things that disappearing or going, it has to do with population density. That's why they're gone. There's more people than there are animals. And we have to, in our own way, try to preserve these things. And because they'll all be gone. There'll be, man is crowding the earth. That's what's happening.
America is very fortunate in that instance because we have so many national parks in our country that can't be encroached upon. A lot of other countries don't. you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But human movement is driving many of the animals' habitat away, and we definitely have to do something to make sure that our wildlife continues.
Man is actually in places, and in particular in the United States, is one of the reasons why we have the game that we have, is because they're one of the great conservationists,
Yes,
actually,
yes.
of game.
Yes.
And that's a good thing. But one always has to remember, too, I don't know if you have to remember it, but I think man put this game on this earth also to eat. And just because you eat a cow or beef doesn't mean that the animal didn't get killed. They objective. Some people, they think because they're eating beef that then you weren't killing anything else. Well, I would prefer to eat what I get. I eat the elk when I was in Monterey, California. I ate wild hog and venison, and so did my kids. And it sure didn't stunt their growth either. Times have changed. Times have changed. That's all. And I left because of the fact that Monterey in itself changed so much. It's not. You'll find out about, if you wanted to care to read some of Steinbeck's books. It's was a very, very interesting, dynamic place. And I just felt it was time to leave, and I was going to go somewhere else. And my wife told me, Pete, they'll just build around you. What will you do? I said, well, I'll move, but I don't want to move anymore. I moved on this particular road that I live on. There was no homes, and now there's 4. So you get at an age where you don't feel like moving anymore. But it'll be a while before anything grows up around here, because there is no industry. As I told Alligator, if you want a cup of coffee and think you're going to leave the house and get it, well, you better bring your thermos. There's nothing around here.
I love areas like this. This is, like growing up out in the sticks myself, all of my formative years. Before you left the Monterey area, though, you moved way up in the sticks, up in the mountains. You remember that place you and your wife had up there?
Well, it was the sticks then, and then that changed.
And then that changed. Yeah. Because see, when I was up there, it was about 30 years ago, up there to interview you. And I remember you telling me, you said, Alligator, you know why I live up here? I said, because the only people who are going to come way the hell up here to see me have better be good friends. And you said something that I have said many times when describing why I prefer living in the country, in the sticks. And I say, because, and I heard you say it, and you're the only person I've heard say that is besides me. I used to tell people, say, you know what I like about living out in nature is if I wake up in the middle of the night, I can walk out on my front porch and whip out my pecker and pee off the porch, and that's it. That's freedom.
Well, I did that when I was a little kid. My mom spanked me, and I told my mom there, and we lived in New Monterey on Prescott, and I saw my grandpa do it, and I thought, well, that's okay. Next thing you know, I was getting batted around for it. But anyway, it's a way of life. The thing is, I wanted a way of life, and believe me, people think, well, you live for nothing. It doesn't cost you anything to live out in the mountains. Oh, they're wrong. They're wrong. You pay for it. So everything in life, there's a price on it. So you live out away from everything. To make a doctor's appointment here, I'd go to get to the particular doctor is 150 miles. And that's one way. And that's about how everything is. So if you don't like it, though I don't live out in the sticks.
Oh, yeah.
But it's, to me, if you gave me a choice, if you gave me a home in a city for free, I wouldn't go there. This is the lifestyle that I've always wanted, and as I said, you pay for that lifestyle. But it is worth it. Yes, it is worth it. I had a dear friend. His name was Benny Ania, and he used to tell me, "Pete, why do you live out there? You know you're so far away and everything." I says, yes. Sometimes when I was coming home in the automobile, I'd look out and I'd see people who already had their lawns mowed and they're sitting down and having a cocktail. I said, gosh dang, well, it'll be a little bit before I get home. But the difference is, when I got home, it was nobody around, and some people don't like that. They like to have people next door, and that's good for them.
Yeah.
But it wasn't good for me. I like the solitude. Get up. Here I was telling Alligator, I'm in New Mexico, Luna, New Mexico. I get up. Sometimes, literally, there could be 100, 50, 100, a couple of hundred elk standing right here around the yard eating. And it's just a nice thing to wake up to. But a lot of people wouldn't like this lifestyle, and I fully know how they feel in some ways. I respect their feelings. It isn't the way I'd like to live.
That's just fabulous to wake up with those many elk and just have grazing in your yard, drinking out of your fountains, and that's yes indeed. This is the life. But like you say, you gotta like it.
Not for everybody.
Oh no, not for everyone.
And another thing that I love, one of my other loves of my life is to read. I probably read sometimes. I gotta slap myself. I said, Pete, you better get off your ass and get something done. But I really enjoy reading. And there again, like I said, if you really want to find out about how Monterey and really was at a time, and that read Steinbeck's books. They're very, very, very interesting reading.
Yes, informative, and a lot of the population of the Monterey who he talked about, they didn't like the fact that he aired their dirty laundry, so to speak, But yes, indeed, Monterey has. I've seen Monterey change in the 30 years that I was there, but it's still a nice place to live, of course. But living up here, waking up every morning, and this house, I wish my audience could see your house. The next time when I come through in the spring, I won't be in a rush. I'm gonna spend a few days here, just hanging out with you, and maybe I take the camera around, and people have got to see this cabin is just absolutely wonderfully made.
Like I said, I built another place before I moved here, and it was also in New Mexico here. And I sold it and got out. I'm no further back than the other house.
Yeah.
In fact, the place you visited me in Kashawa, Carmel Valley, you had to cross the Carmel Valley River.
Yeah.
It wasn't a creek. Here, these people here, I get a chuckle out of it. They call a 2-foot water course a river.
Yeah.
I said, boy, they ought to go to California and see some rivers.
Yeah, yes, indeed. And how often do you go hunting now?
Well, in this country here, where I can hunt something that they can hunt year-round here is coyotes. And I enjoy coyote hunting, It's an entertaining sport. And I have my neighbor down the road there, really very nice lady, and her name's Janice Keeney. And at any rate, she has the coyotes get in her place there and kill her young calves. And that's problematic, and the state will give them, they'll pay for it. if they prove out that it was in truth a wolf, not a coyote. But coyotes kill them too, but they have a wolf population here, and they will replace that calf if a wolf kills it, because they were introduced. They were here at one time, but then they were extinct and they reintroduced them. But they'll wait about a year before they give you the money for the calf. And I told Mrs. Keeney there, I said, did they give you the worth of that calf if it was a year old with its weight gain? No, you just get it what it'd be worth as a little calf. So once again, the government is coming out in the upper hand.
Oh, always. So can you hunt the elk here? There is a season, yes?
Well, there's a season on everything else. There's a season on your elk, season on your deer, and I've told some people this, and they found it hard to believe that live here. I said, we have more game in California than they do here. Now, not elk, but you have more game overall.
Yes.
And the reason is, it's all private. Mm-hmm. California, I took a friend of mine, a lady friend of mine, from the California-Oregon border all the way down Interstate 5 to Bakersfield. And I said, do you realize there's not one place you can get out and go hunting here? Well, here you can, it's a lot of forest. My house is surrounded on 3 sides of where I live here by forest, over my fence line. So that's the way I like it. Now I have my friend. She doesn't like that. She says she likes to be able to see her neighbors. So that's good. She lives over the hill here, 22 miles away, and that's probably why we get along so good. We're just a distance.
I tell people, I said, I was talking with a young man once, and I was telling him, I said, I grew up out in the country. And he said, I grew up in the country too. And I said, well, okay, let me ask you a question. I'm going to see if you actually grew up in the country. I said, if you came off your front porch and you slipped and you fell and you broke your leg and you couldn't get up, what would you do? He said, I would yell and my neighbors would come running. I said, well, you don't live in the country. I said, you live in a community. I said, well, if you live out in the country and you fall and you break something, you can't call somebody to help because nobody lives close enough.
Well, Alligator, I'll tell you a funny story. I was up on the roof here. It's got I don't know if you know what a pitch of roof is, 10 and 12 pitches.
I did a little carpentry myself when I was young.
Darn steep. And I was cleaning out, my wood stove flue. And damp wind came up and blew the ladder over. Oh. So I says, oh, God. So I says, I can't get off the damn roof. So I tie the ladder with a rope under one of my vents up in the air there. And so I luckily, just by luck, I brought the phone with me because the cell phone wouldn't work here. Mm-hmm. So I brought the my walk around phone, and I was on the roof. So I called Alice because I have a neighbor, but he's a couple miles away. Mm-hmm. So I said, could you call Larry Hensley and tell him to come up and get my ladder? Boy, that was an embarrassment.
Yes, I bet so that was.
I laid up there. And of course, I don't know what he was doing, but he said he'd be here. About 2 hours later, he showed up, and I was sleeping on the roof. No, I was stuck up there.
Yeah. When you live out like this, anything like that creates a problem. It creates a problem because
I stepped out here this past winter, and I thought I saw a fire way off, and I thought, well, that's odd. I said, I don't know if it's a fire or what is. So I have binoculars, and I got up and started out the door here, and there was something in the yard that was I didn't recognize it. You know when you walk in your living room, you know where the furniture is and everything. So it was out of place. Boy, it was one heck of a big bear.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, he was a great big bear standing there, and the dogs, they couldn't see him around the corner, and they were tied up, and boy, they were carrying on. I thought, what are the dogs carrying on for? So they could smell that bear there, and he was standing out there, and then he didn't particularly get excited, and I had the binoculars, so I was going to see if that was a fire, which it wasn't. It was the way the sun was setting, and he just took off running.
Now that's living in the country when you walk in and a bear's in your house. Hey, that's good. Well, listen, we're gonna close this out. I'm gonna come back and do another one with you. I'm coming back in the spring, and like I said, I'm gonna spend a few days here. I think maybe my wife will come with me too. We could come here and just spend a few days.
You know, just to jump back again, let me say something here.
Yeah.
I was telling you about the buffalo in the Great Plains, right?
Yeah.
Well, see, anything that I'd make a comment on as in regards to something like that, as you could see with my books, I have 3 or 4 very interesting books on the American bison. Well, what's interesting, I hear people make comments about some things, and they have really no idea of what they're commenting on. The comment was made, well, the hunters slaughtered the buffalo. Ah, yes, but there's a reason why they slaughtered the buffalo, because of the government. The government was the ones, and this is fact. If anybody has any doubts about this, they can look it up in the internet. General Sherman was a fellow in the U.S. Army or Cavalry, whatever it was called then, and he said, if you wipe out, if you kill, or he didn't particularly say kill, if you take away the Indians' commissary, you bring
them to their knees.
You bring them to bay.
Yeah. Oh yes.
So you see, and that's what they did.
Oh yes, that was what what it was all about. Exterminate the buffalo. You've got their food source, their clothing,
their house,
their homes, everything.
Their teepees were made out of buffalo hides,
and that brought them down. That it was the history of that. It's kind of ugly. The extermination of the buffalo, combined with warfare, combined with those smallpox blankets that they took to the Indian villages.
It was given to them by the white man.
Yes, as a gift, knowing that they were giving them something that they had no resistance to. But anyway, that's another subject, my friend.
Okay.
So this is Alligator in Alignment. This is my friend Pete Scardina. I'm going to come back and do another show with him, but I'm going to put this up next Thursday. Alligator in Alignment. Happy trails.